starting in 2 minutes.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this morning at the DBT STEPS-A skills class on student skills for surviving and thriving during COVID-19 and beyond. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes, so if you want to just go ahead and get some paper and some pencils so that you can have something to write on and take notes, go ahead and do that, and then we will be back in just about 2 minutes to get started for today's class. Thanks.
Yeah. It's my birthday tomorrow.
You guys don't have to be that quiet. You're okay. And you are alive still. While everybody's getting themselves organized, they can see we're getting ourselves organized too.
It's my birthday tomorrow.
All right, good morning everybody. We're going to get started in just about 1 or 2 minutes with today's student skills class for surviving and thriving during COVID-19 and beyond from the DBT STEPS-A curriculum. So go ahead and get some paper and pencil if you haven't done so yet, so you can take some notes and jot some things down during class today. And we're going to get started in about 1 or 2 minutes.
Hi everybody, I'm Dexter-Mazza. I am one of the developers of a book called DBT Skills in Schools. We are going to be teaching from this book in our series called Student Skills for Surviving and Thriving During COVID-19 and Beyond. And what we want to be able to do is provide students who are at home and getting online schooling with some of the social emotional learning coping strategies and skills that help us get through this time of being at home, being with our siblings, being with our parents, as well as skills that these same skills will be able to be used once we go back to school as well. So thanks for joining us, and we'll be teaching on the change side of things. I think last week I talked about the dialectic that we use is in acceptance and change, and we're going to be teaching instead of on the validation side this time in acceptance, we're going to be teaching on the change side for the first time, doing the models of emotions. With that, we always start with a mindfulness exercise, and what I thought we'd do is an observe and describe exercise. And this is where we're going to be using our what skills to do our observing and describing. And so today we're going to count our breath. And so here's what I want you to do, all right? I want you to think about, be mindful, right? So Jackson's already getting into his mindfulness position. Jackson, that's great. Feet flat on the floor. Ashton, let's put the pillow over to the side. Grace, you can put your pencil down too. That would be great as I explain the instructions, all right? And so what we're going to do is just be aware. We're going to observe our breath. We always have it with us, all right? And so this exercise is as we breathe in, I want you to count to the number 1. And as you breathe out, count 2, all right? Breathe in, count 3. Breathe out, count 4, all right? If you notice distractions or things that are happening to you outside, notice it and let it go and come back to the exercise. So once you get to 10, you go back to 1. If you find yourself at 15, 20, 75, notice it and you just come back to the exercise again, all right? Any questions before we begin? Grace, you might want to have your feet flat on the floor to be in our mindfulness exercise, okay? Yep.
So what happens if we get distracted and lose count?
Come back to the exercise, right? And just start all over, all right?
If you have to itch your nose.
If you have to itch your nose, notice it and don't do it, right? Just come back to the exercise. Just notice. Even if you have to move some hair, notice it and come back, all right? Any questions? So we're just observing. in our heads. So when you're counting, count to yourselves. And you at home, same type of thing. We're going to count up to 10. In on 1, out on 2, in on 3, out on 4, up to 10, and then start over again. All right? Any questions? All right, let's take a nice deep breath. That's our step 2. And begin counting our breath. And stop. All right. So with all of our exercises, we were doing observations, right? So that's our wordless watching. Now I want to put words to it, right? So describe factually, what did you notice?
Like, it was actually kind of hard.
Because?
Like, it's like you hear one little sound, like, in the background, and it's like, what was it?
Right, so you notice that you're attempting other things because it was really quiet, right?
Yeah.
Rarely quiet in our household, right? So good, you notice and then come back to the exercise?
Yeah, I forgot what number I was on twice.
That does happen, right? Because we get busy doing things, right? Our lives are pretty busy. Grace, what did you notice? Can you describe it?
I skipped like 4 numbers.
You skipped 4 numbers? I'm pretty sure you know your numbers by now, right? And so,
No,
okay.
I
So you noticed it.
numbers.
Don't judge yourself, right? Notice it. Okay, I went from 6 to 10. All right, let's go back to 1. All right, that is fine. Jackson?
I thought it was every in you count and not every in then out, so I counted 10 every in, which is 20.
Well, some people do that, right? So for this exercise, it was in 1, out 2, right? And just it still works, all right? The idea is to be aware of your breath, all right, that you have. Now, what did you notice about your body?
It was
Describe.
still.
It was still. I like
so
that. Was it
still.
moving?
It was hard to sit still.
It is hard to sit still. Yes, you do tend to have. You sometimes have a hard time sitting still. So good. You notice it.
I didn't notice it.
That's good.
I
All
was
right.
fidgeting.
You were trying to fidget. You were fidgeting with the pillow with your feet. I did notice that and came back to the exercise. So notice those things, and you back at home too. Please notice some of those things. And the idea is that if you got distracted, that's okay. The idea behind our mindfulness exercise is actually to put our mind where we want it to be, and not our mind putting us into a spot where we don't want it to be. And that's what's really important. All right. And so it takes time. It's a muscle that we have to keep practicing and practicing, so it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. With that, I'm hoping that we're in a good spot and we're in our wise mind to now be taught by mom. Correct.
All right, guys. I'm glad I get to teach you today. I haven't been able to teach you all in a while. Let me do some quick introductions as we kind of get moving today. I'm Dr. Lizz Dexter-Mazza, a clinical psychologist and one of the authors of the curriculum. Welcome to our living room. This is our family. Let them introduce themselves really fast to you.
I'm Ashton. I'm in 6th grade, and I'm gonna be 12 tomorrow.
Almost a happy birthday. Yeah.
I'm Grace. I'm in 2nd grade, and I'm 8.
Okay, great.
My name is Jackson. I am in 7th grade and I'm 13.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. You guys have been like such great participants in being here in class, which we make you be in class because we want to teach you the skills, and then helping everybody else out there who's watching us today to teach the skills as well. So for anybody who's been watching us for the last couple weeks, one thing maybe you have noticed is that we are not technological production experts, and we've been kind of learning as we go, as we were trying to provide these skills to our own kids and to all of you out there. And just to give you a heads up, today Jim is taking a turn at managing the production side and the cameras and everything, and so we're just kind of learning and practicing vulnerability as we go and figuring this out. So that's where we are. All right, so here's what we're going to do in teaching today, because we've been talking a lot about our crisis survival skills and our radical acceptance skills of how do we accept the reality we're in, especially like right now. What's our new reality?
COVID-19.
COVID-19, isolated at home, not seeing anybody in person except each other, right? Getting to know each other's faces really, really, really well every day, right? Are you guys having that experience at home as well? And so while we've been talking about all of our distress tolerance skills, which are our behavior regulation skills, today we're going to make a shift and we're going to start talking about emotion regulation. And I think the first thing when we teach emotion regulation is we can't even talk about how do we change and regulate and manage our emotions until we know why we even have them, right? So my first question for you guys is, why do you think we have emotions? What's the purpose of an emotion? What do you think?
To add flavor.
Okay, the purpose of an emotion, right? And
Feel feelings.
To add flavor.
Flavor.
what do you mean by that, Jackson? To add
If you
flavor?
look at a cake, if you don't add flavor, just bland. That's probably just the logic part. Emotions add the flavor.
Okay, so emotions add flavor to your life. They get like sensations
Yeah.
and feelings. Okay. They increase sensations and experiences.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, what else do you think? Why do we have emotions?
Because you feel things.
Because you feel things? Well, why do you feel things? Do you ever...
to feel things?
What'd you say?
It's okay to feel
It's
things?
totally okay to feel things. Do you ever have the experience like, I don't want to have emotions. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel embarrassed.
Nope. Yep.
No? You have that sometimes, Grace? Yeah. And the thing is that emotions are really important because sometimes they give us a lot of information, right? When you start having an emotion in your body, like you start getting scared, what does that start telling you?
I know this is scary and I think I can still do it.
So sometimes you notice it, right? Because it tells you to like, hey, check things out. Is this a scary situation? Right? And then you figure out from there, can you still do it? So the first thing emotions do is emotions give us information, right? That's kind of one of our main points. The emotions give us information. Okay? They communicate information to us. They kind of tell us what we need to be paying attention to around us, right? Do you ever notice like when you're like walking around the neighborhood or something and you like yesterday when we were walking and all of a sudden we heard like loud noises coming up behind us, right?
No.
You don't remember? Like that runner that came really close to us running up behind us and we were like, whoa, what is that? Right? So that noise, like that startles feeling inside of us gave us information to check out what's happening around us. No, you didn't even notice that he was coming up?
Very startled.
You got very startled, but it was like
right next.
right, so it's like gives us information, check things out, right? And that's important, especially when we're in dangerous situations, right? Like we're at the zoo and all of a sudden you see a bunch of people screaming, right? You might think like, oh, maybe that's
Get to high ground.
right. Get to high ground, animal loose. So another thing emotions do is they communicate information to other people. So if you see a bunch of people at the zoo and all of a sudden they're screaming and running, what are their emotions communicating to us?
We should run too.
We should run too, right? Are we waiting for them to say like, hey, danger, the rhinoceros got loose, you should all get out of here,
The
right?
gorilla.
No, or the gorilla. We're just like watching their faces.
They're not going to be focused on that. They're
Right.
going to be focused on their lives.
Exactly, right? They're trying to there, so we're just using their emotions to communicate. Or do you guys remember that scene from Inside Out? Anybody ever seen Inside Out before? Remember that scene from Inside Out when Riley, she missed the winning shot for the game and she was sitting on the tree and she was really sad?
Mm-hmm.
What did that communicate to other people?
She was sad.
sad.
She was sad, and then what
She was
happened?
disappointed.
And what happened?
She was embarrassed.
She was embarrassed, she was sad. Do you remember what happened after
She
that?
quit the team.
She quit the team, and then what happened when everybody saw that she was sitting on the tree all sad?
Everyone came to say, good job.
Her mom and dad first came, and then the whole team came, and they helped to support her. So when we're sad, that communicates to other people, and they often come and help us, right? So it communicates information to other people, right? Oops. So that first, it communicates information to ourselves, it communicates information to other people, and then emotions can, I'll put an arrow here for meaning lead us to or motivate us into action, right? So we see somebody we really care about sad, we may have love come up in us and we want to go closer to them to help them, right?
Can't do that.
What about
Well, not right now, but at home we can.
COVID-19?
At COVID-19, you can't do that outside, but you can do it from home, or you can do it over Zoom or Xbox or
You can't
FaceTime.
hug them.
You can only give them a virtual hug right now.
Yeah,
Right,
there's
so
a
it
gift
motivates
that's
us
just
into
on
action.
the phone.
So does that make sense? All right, so here's the number one thing I want you to realize from this. This is why we can't get rid of emotions. This is why we have them. This is why they serve a function for us in our lives. All the way back, just biologically, they provide information for us in that way, okay? So here's the next thing we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about what is an emotion. So let me ask you guys this question first. How long do you think an emotion lasts? And you guys at home, how long do you think an emotion lasts? What are your thoughts?
It
on
depends
that?
how strong the emotion
However
is.
long you make it.
Depends on the situation.
Okay, so give me some, it depends on how long you make it last, the situation, so give me some general time frames, you think.
It could be like 30 minutes or 15 minutes.
Anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. Jackson, how long do you
Not-
think emotions last?
If I control it, maybe around 5 to 10.
Maybe 5 to 10 minutes if you can control and regulate it. What'd you say? Talk louder.
I like, for me, it like varies. I just think like if you just keep thinking about it, it's just gonna get longer and longer and worse. But if you just say, okay, I'll just do it anyways, it just like ends there.
Okay, so sometimes depending, you can change the
Yeah,
length
like,
of it.
You get to choose
Mhm.
pretty much.
Any thoughts on people from home on how long they think an emotion lasts?
Put it in the comments.
Okay, so here's the thing. What if I told you that an emotion actually only lasts like 60 to 90 seconds and possibly only 30 to 45 seconds?
It's the reaction that lasts longer.
The reaction, okay, it's kind of, right?
The feeling
The feeling,
that lasts longer.
it's the feeling. Well, here's the thing, this is what we're going to talk about today. You guys all have in your handouts, handout 16.1, that's what we call the model of emotions. And what I want to show you in this model is that this is what we call a full system response of an emotion. That an emotion has all these different parts to it. But even this whole kind of like cycle of emotions that we go through only lasts 60 to 90 seconds, and sometimes maybe even shorter. And what makes it seem like they last so long is when we keep refiring this model over and over and over again. Right? These are like neural firing in our brains, and they keep going. And if we keep refiring and refiring, like you said earlier, Ashton, then it can last a really long time. Or if we figure out how to intervene early, then we can shorten that period of time. And that's what we're going to spend time on today, is how do we observe and describe all the different parts of our
It
emotions.
feels so long.
And sometimes it feels so long, and you're wondering, like, why do
It
I...
feels like you've been sad for like 40 minutes.
Some 40 minutes, right? And so maybe that's because sometimes you're just kind of refiring all the different parts of your emotion over and over again. Make sense? And so that's what we're going to go through today, and we're going to get specific about emotions. All right, here's my next question for all of you. Has anybody ever asked you, how are you feeling? And when you answered, you said, I'm upset. Have you ever felt upset before?
I would say I'm not doing great.
You're not doing great? Okay.
Yeah. I would say that.
Having a bad day. Have you ever said, I'm upset?
I said I'm embarrassed.
Embarrassed, right?
Guilty.
Guilty. And you've never been upset before?
No, I haven't upset, but I
I've been
haven't
upset.
probably admitted it.
Okay, so you've been upset and not admit it. So here's my question. When you say I'm upset, what emotion are you feeling?
Anger.
Anger?
Frustration.
Frustration? Sometimes when I'm upset, it's because I'm sad.
It's because you're you.
Disappointed.
Hey, that's me.
Disappointed, right? Jackson's saying mom gets sad all the time.
Yes.
But sometimes when I'm upset, maybe it's because I have, like, I'm scared, right? Or worried. So the thing is that, like, so upset, how can upset mean so many different emotions? Hey, Ashton, can you focus over here? How can upset be all those different emotions?
Because it's one whole big emotion.
It's kind of like this big category of emotions, right? It just
like
kind
a
of like,
category.
it's like just another word for like a negative, painful emotion,
The prime colors.
right? But it doesn't actually give us information. Like if I'm upset, if I think you're upset, how do I know how to help you to feel less upset if I don't know which specific emotion you're feeling?
You ask.
I'll have to ask, well, what if you just say, I don't know, I'm upset? How do you know what to do to change your emotion?
You take a break, shower or something, do what you want for like half an hour, and then come back to it, and then like by that time you could be like more refreshed and just like open to ideas.
Do you still know which emotion you're feeling though?
Well, it'll be easier to try and think about it or find it out because you're not like still super angry.
I love it. You are like totally thinking about the skills we've taught the last couple of weeks from crisis survival. Like how do you distract effectively so that you don't act on your emotions and then you can come back and figure out what it was. Super effective. I love how you're bringing that back in from previous weeks.
Great, Ashton. That was the accept skill that we did, right? So that's an activity. One of our reviewers want to comment on, so how is it that when we like experience somebody that has died that we love them, right? Why does it feel like that emotion lasts for years or months, right? And so if you can explain that as part of that model as you go through your example, I think that'd be helpful for our reviewers.
We will talk about that because all emotions have a purpose and they all were biologically hardwired to have them. And just in a shorthand, and we're going to spend more time on this in the next couple of lessons, is that sadness makes sense when we've experienced a loss. So when you've experienced a loss, like somebody's died, and you think about them, it makes sense that sadness comes up. Like my dad died many, many years ago, and I still have sadness when I think about that I've lost him, that I miss him, the things he didn't experience. Does that mean I'm grieving and feeling sad all the time every day? No, but when I come back and think about him, I do have sadness. I also have joy. Yeah.
One other thing that just came in, so keep them coming, everybody, thank you, is stress and emotion.
Is stress and emotion. It depends, right? It's one of those experiences that only gives us kind of that general category. If I'm really stressed out, that might mean that I'm really anxious or worried about something. It may be that I'm really embarrassed about something. So we don't always really know exactly what that is. And that's what we're going to spend time today on, is how do we actually kind of label more specific emotions so that once we can label them and understand the different parts, it gives us more opportunities to figure out how to regulate them more effectively. So you ready to kind of start walking through this together with me?
Do we have a handout for labeling emotions?
Yes, that's what we're working on here. That's what this model of emotions is. We're going to show you how to label them here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the very first box, and I'm going to try to write clearly on the board while also writing big enough. And Jim's going to put up pictures of our PowerPoint that we've kind of pre-populated a little bit, so the pre-population won't match exactly what we have, but we figured that would be a little bit more clear for you all. So prompting event, do you see that box on your handout?
One or
prompting
two.
event, prompting event 1, right on there. This is the thing that kind of sets off our emotion, right? This is the activity that prompts the whole cycle. And this could be typically something that happens outside of you, right? So, you know, we've all felt scared before, right? What kind of things prompt being scared for you or for other people in general? What kind of things do you think of, like, when I know I'm scared, like the thing that always makes me scared is snakes.
Big
Like,
boy snakes.
so snakes is something that always makes me scared. What makes you guys scared? Well, give me some examples of things that you're scared of.
I'm scared of bees when they sting me.
Okay, being stung by a bee.
I'm scared when something just falls with nothing doing anything
No purpose.
to make it fall.
Okay,
It's like creepy. It's like there's an invisible man.
things
that's pushing
randomly falling.
it. Yeah. It's like there's
Do you
an
want to switch
invisible
this?
man.
I know other people are afraid of the dark.
The dark.
Muskies.
Big muskies, that's a type of fish in the Midwest. Okay, what other things make you guys scared? I think I kicked to that
Roller
camera
coasters.
before, sorry. Roller coasters make people scared.
Oh,
Spiders.
Spiders.
arachnophobia. Yeah.
Yep, spiders. So there's lots of things that people can be scared of that can prompt scaring. Like for me, if it's like walking in the woods, or sometimes in where I grew up in upstate New York, walking outside in the summer, like there's garter snakes that just go through the grass or from under rocks, and like I get really scared if I see one of those.
Were you afraid when you and your sister cut down a Christmas tree?
Was I afraid when I cut down a Christmas tree when I was a kid? No, I was not. That was not something that made me scared, right? But there's also, that's making a lot of noise. Can you stop doing that, please? Thanks. There's also a lot of things on here, like, I'm afraid of snakes, but is there anybody in here that's not afraid of snakes?
Yes.
Okay, Grace is not afraid of
Not
snakes.
afraid of snakes.
Okay, is there anybody who's not afraid of roller coasters in here? Okay, you guys aren't afraid of roller coasters. Anybody in here who is afraid of roller coasters? Dad's afraid of roller coasters. On that, are you afraid of some roller coasters?
Yes, some roller coasters.
Some roller coasters, like the
I know
ones
something
that go
Jackson's
upside
also
down.
afraid of, or Ashton's afraid of, and Dad is
Of what?
heights.
Heights, right? Some people are afraid of heights, some people aren't. So for our example today, why don't we do roller coasters? Because we know in our family that some of us are afraid of roller coasters and some of us are not. So we're going to choose that our prompting event is roller coasters. Okay? And we'll talk about how you can have one prompting event and different emotional reactions. But before we go there, I'm going to pop up to this little box over here. And this box where I'm writing VF, do you see it up top? It's called vulnerability factors. And vulnerability factors, anybody have an idea what that might be?
No.
Being vulnerable.
Being vulnerable, right?
But I have no idea what the factor stands for.
Okay, what does being vulnerable mean?
Wanting to hide.
Exposed, wanting to hide, right? So being vulnerable is another word for that can be helpful, means being sensitive, more sensitive than you usually are, right? Do you never notice that there are times where, something happens to you one day and you don't think anything of it, but another day when that same thing happens, your emotions are really high?
Because it's like, oh, it happened again.
Like it happened again? Or is it maybe that like one day we forgot to feed you lunch and then you were really irritable, or you didn't get enough sleep the night before?
No, I was fine.
That.
No, just in general. Like, are there times when you're really tired that maybe you're more irritable or sensitive? Or when you haven't had anything to eat in a while? Or what about
No protein.
no protein? What about when you're on screens for a long time and you get off screens? Do those make you more sensitive?
That's for Ashton.
Yeah, it makes
What?
you.
No.
No, for all of you, it makes us more. Right, so vulnerability factors are just things that make us more sensitive to our emotions. Okay, so we just want to keep those in the background. So let's talk about roller coasters. Okay, so when you're roller coasters, all right, your prompting event, the next thing that comes up are the thoughts we have about it. Okay, we're going to move through these a little bit quickly here so you guys can all see it. So for anybody who likes roller coasters, we're going to use, what are we using, blue or green for liking roller coasters, Jim?
We're using
Green.
green for like, we're using blue
Okay.
for not like.
All right, so for those of you who like roller coasters, when you see a roller coaster and you know you're about to go on, what thoughts go through your mind?
Well, first of all, it
Do
varies.
Do
Let's
it.
go.
Let's go.
It
No,
does vary.
Actually, that's not the first thing on my mind. If you see it, you see like a really fun roller coaster, the first thing that I want to check is how long is the line.
How long's the line? Okay. That's
Because sometimes they're like 2 hours long.
okay. So it's still on the I want to do it. Now let me gather more information. All right, what other things do you think when you see a roller
It
coaster?
varies.
Varies.
Depends on the type.
Or when you
but-
see a roller coaster
just-
that you like.
I'm really
Yeah,
eager.
I would go down it.
Okay. Oh, I want to go on that. Okay.
Is
I
there
want-
a loop-de-loop?
I breathe hard because I'm super eager.
Okay, you're super eager. So, what about when you see a roller coaster, like one with 1 or 2 or more upside down loops? What thoughts go through your mind when you see that? And
Go.
Jim, jump in too, because I know
I'm
you.
gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm
no
going
way.
to die.
Let's do it.
No way. No, Ashton, these are thoughts for if you're scared of roller coasters, if you don't like them.
Well, loop-de-loops, I'm like, no.
Maybe
Just
no.
Maybe you have the thought
Just
danger.
no, I'm not doing that no matter what you say.
No way. Okay. So you can have all of these thoughts that kind of through. Like you might think if I go on it, I'm gonna get sick. I might fall out.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what happened to me.
Those must
with,
be might be
a
thoughts.
Disney
Other ones
ride.
like,
You
woohoo!
could throw up on
So
yourself.
we could throw up on ourselves, right? So here's the thing, right? Recognizing that you can have one prompting event and different types of thoughts. So then we're going to kind of move into talking about here. What happens inside our body when we have an emotion? So inside our body is like how our brain might change, but it's also kind of the
We
sensations
say
and the
different things
urges.
to ourselves.
Right, so that's all the thoughts here. The different things you say to yourself happen here, right? And then inside may be the things, the physical sensations you feel inside your body
Your stomach.
and your stomach. So Grace, when you see a roller coaster and you're excited about it, what happens in your stomach inside your body?
Kind of does the same thing when I'm scared.
Okay, so tell me, what is that?
Like, my heartbeat goes really fast and my stomach starts vibrating.
Okay, so your heart rate increases, your
and my
stomach
vibrates.
vibrates or tingles,
No, it just vibrates.
just vibrates.
It's
Okay.
like up and down. I'm
The
like,
up and
that's
down,
your heart
okay.
beating.
All right, Ashton, what happens for you inside your body? What are the physical sensations you have?
That's fun.
Fun, like so you get like a little bit more jumpy inside. Okay.
I also
I get
like I hold on to someone's hand and I just jump. Like
Okay. And what were you gonna say, Jackson?
I feel like I get more alert just in general sometimes.
Okay, so your alertness increases. Okay. And then what do you guys have the urge to do? So like Ashton's urge is to
Run.
run toward, So urge to run toward, check the line length, okay. What else do you have the urge
run
to do?
toward the roller coaster and just
Run
skip
toward it.
the line.
Urge to skip the line. Do you have the urge to start like screaming woohoo
Yeah.
To
no.
scream.
And you start running.
with joy? Okay.
towards the
So
line.
for the, all right, so that's like all those different things that happen inside your body if you like roller coasters. Let's talk about if you don't like roller coasters, and I'll do that in blue up here. So if you don't like roller coasters, Gracie, you said for ones you don't like, your heart rate also increases. Okay, what else happens inside of you?
Nauseous.
You start feeling nausea.
That's you.
I need to go check on the car again in the parking lot. I'll walk.
Okay, so you have the urge to walk away. All right, so you have the urge to walk away. What else do you have? What else happens to you?
The urge to pull my brother with me.
Okay, so the urge to bring Jackson with you. All right,
Coming on the
so
roller
the
coaster
urge
with
to
me.
grab someone.
And run.
Okay, they probably can't read what I'm writing up here, so it's probably better if we stay on the PowerPoint. But you can just kind of, so you can see a little bit of what I'm doing. Right, so you've got excitement to go towards the attraction, right? If you're scared, you want to go away from it. So does it make sense? Like, so how you have different inside experiences? And then here's the next thing I want to show you, right? Is what happens outside of the body. Okay? What happens outside of the body is what other people can see. So these are the things that we say, our facial expressions, and the things that we do. Right?
Run.
So if you like it, we had the urge to run toward it. Now we're actually going to do the running, right? We're actually going to, we might actually skip the line, right? And we might actually start screaming,
Woohoo.
Yeah.
woo-hoo, right? So that makes sense? And people would see us smiling also, right? We'd be smiling. All right, so then what happens? What if you're afraid of snakes or of roller coasters? What
My
do
eyes
people
would
see?
Get huge.
Oh, your eyes go really big.
My eyes would get so big. No, that's for neutral.
Okay, so your eyes would get really big if you're scared when you see
Or
the roller
if you're
coaster.
happy, I would curl my lips
Or if
in,
you're
and I
happy,
would curl my lips
your
in.
eyes-
I'd like go.
Like,
Or someone would just walk away.
Okay, so you might run away.
Run.
Or,
I might be sweating because I don't care for them, right? Or I would offer to hold all of your jackets and hats so they didn't fly off.
yeah.
So I'd stay down below.
So Dad's gonna stay
I
there.
think I forgot my phone.
He might freeze. Be like, I'm not going on there. Nope, I'm not going on there at all.
Feel.
Right? And he might actually scream. Right?
No.
Or get sick and thinking about it, right?
Right? So here's the thing. What I want you guys to really notice from this, you guys at home and you guys in here, is that there are things that happen inside our body. And that's where that urge to do a behavior comes in. And then there's the actual behavior. This is one of the most important things I want you to learn from this, that there's the urge and then there's the behavior. It's not that that behavior is completely automatic and right away.
Nope.
It's
Okay.
also something I do is like, I can just go, oh, I'm hungry, let's go.
Right, notice that little avoidance that you might do. And that there's a lot of physical things, sensations that happen inside our body. That's a really important component also. Because oftentimes when we don't like an emotion, what we don't like about it is that uncomfortable feeling we have in our body. Okay? And so that part is, now that we know what happens inside and outside, we can go and start talking about what are the consequences of our action. We kind of come down here. And these are what we call the after effects. Or what happens after we have this emotional experience. And we'll kind of come back and name this in a minute, right? So what are some of the after effects? Like when you're scared about one ride at the theme park, what happens to you for wanting to go on the next rides?
I don't want to go.
Right, there's like that after effect, like you just keep thinking about it and then you don't want to go on other rides. It kind of lingers for a long time.
For me, I just feel, okay, I'm more confident. Do it.
Right, and once you've got that sense of mastery, you've done this, and it makes you want to go do more.
I like thrilling rides.
You like thrilling rides, and that makes you want to go on more thrilling rides.
Like the ones with the circles.
But some of them you also want to avoid.
Yeah.
If I like it, I'm like, okay, now I know that these rides are fun, let's go on others. But if I don't like it, I'm just going to go, well, that ride wasn't good, so why take the risks of other rides not being good?
Can you guys put the pillows down, please? Thanks. Like right now, I want you guys to just practice noticing your urges to fidget and not act on them. Just kind of like here as well, okay? Like maybe you're a little nervous being on the camera again. Notice those urges and try not to fidget. Kind of like we did in our practicing our mindfulness this morning. Notice the urge to move and not do it during it, okay? So those are the consequences. Like when I see a snake, snakes really scare me and they cause a lot of fear in me. Right. One of my after effects is that I keep thinking about snakes over and over again. Like I always think about that one scene from Indiana Jones where they're in the whole pit of snakes. Like it just keeps going through my head. Like I can't take my attention away from it. So sometimes that happens with emotions too.
So for me, because I'm the one that doesn't like roller coasters in the family, I feel like guilty that I didn't go. You guys are done, had a good time. Like I feel, I should have gone. I feel guilty, and I'm a little bit less likely to maybe go on the rides. Or I'm like, maybe we should get lunch. Maybe I need to kind of build myself back up so that I can go on some of the rides.
And then go down right before the ride.
Well, and so.
Or maybe if you build,
right?
also if you build up lunch, you could also get sick.
Well, that's true, right? So.
So Dad might have the thought, I should have gone. Right, and that's what we could call potentially prompting event. I'm going to say PE number 2, right? Prompting event number 2, because if he has that thought, I should have gone, that might start then
the whole cycle again.
Now he's starting maybe to have a different emotion, feeling guilt or shame on this, and that's how it starts going over and over and over again. If we keep saying like, oh, those are scary, I'm going to die if I go on a roller coaster, I'm going to die, that's no way I can do it. Oh, now they're on the roller coaster, they're going to die, right? It just keeps making your worry and your fear go over and over and over again. Does that make sense? All right, so here's what I want to do. The last part is I want to just name this emotion. So for green, right, what emotion is that? For those of you guys who liked roller coasters, what emotion is that? What emotion do you feel if you like roller coasters?
Run.
Thrill.
No, emotion, what feeling?
Oh.
Thrill.
Thrill.
Like
Happy.
eagerness.
Happy, excitement, right? So happy or joy, excitement.
Thrill.
And we already know that if it, for the ones in blue, that was fear, right? Right, so we're in fear. So we can have one prompting event of roller coasters that can have totally different experiences for different people. And can set off different emotions. Yeah, Grace?
Actually, when I have fear, sometimes what I do is like, I'm saying, line, go, go, go. before I change my mind.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of like, so that's a great example, Grace. I want you to think about that because you know you're scared and you're using your distress tolerance skills to kind of hold on, just tolerate that urge to avoid, and you're not going. Which brings in the perfect thing I want you guys to look at next. The next handout that Dad's going to show up, and here I'll show it to you guys over here because you don't have it, is this handout 12.2 that on it, everything that's underlined, that's coming up for you guys on the screen, these are all different skills. Grace and Ashton, can you look over here? All different skills from STEPS-A that we're going to teach where we can figure out what skills we can use when we want to change our emotions. So Grace, you did a great one because you're having these urges, right, these behaviors to run, and we're going to talk about here, it says the skill of opposite action. And you know the skill of opposite action is to do the thing you're scared of to kind of get your fear to go down.
Like my first underdog.
Your first underdog, right. And doing sometimes tolerating that urge, not acting on it, because you check the facts, because you see there's 1,000 people that go on a roller coaster every day and they don't get hurt. And so you're tolerating doing the thing you're scared of, knowing that it's not really dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so we're going to go through the next several weeks more of these skills that are listed on this. Like we have skills called check the facts and how to just notice your thoughts and let them go for help managing about our thoughts on emotions, our thoughts about emotions. And then we've got what we call our tip skills, which are more of our crisis survival skills about how to tolerate and change those physical sensations in your body. And some other skills that we'll look at about how do you just sit with those experiences. Later on in the next couple of lessons, we're going to teach a skill called mindfulness of current emotion. How do you let yourself sit with and experience the uncomfortability, the uncomfortable physical sensations that go along with an emotion?
Can I say one of the tip skills?
What's one of the tip skills?
Dunk your head 5 times in like a bucket of ice water.
Right, cold water.
For like 10 seconds
You can do
each
that.
time and just go.
Right, and that helps bring the intensity of your emotion down, right?
Take a shower.
And so we're going to do that. Sometimes taking a shower can be helpful. I love that you guys are remembering so many of the skills that we've taught in the last couple of weeks and then just we teach in general around here. So these are skills that we're going to go through. So here's what I want you guys really taking home from this lesson today is a couple take-home points for you. One, I want you to remember that an emotion is a full system, full body response with multiple parts. Okay? And if we can identify the different parts of our emotions, then we can decide where to act on them and how to change them or sit with and experience them. Right? So emotions, there's not just sad or just upset, but sad and upset, they really are just words that describe this full system response we have. All right? And that you can have one event and it can lead to different emotions either in yourself based on maybe your vulnerability factors. Sometimes you're more frustrated or more sensitive than you would be at another time. Or there's people who like roller coasters and don't like roller coasters that could have different emotional experiences. So between now and our next class, I want you just to be thinking that, noticing when you have an emotion today or tomorrow or the next day, I want you to try to identify some of these different components of it. And maybe you guys can all talk about that around the dinner table or breakfast table today and tomorrow about what are some of the different parts of emotions and how really one of the things I want you to think about is how sometimes do our thoughts fuel our emotions, right? How do they keep setting them off? And if you remember, who remembers what kind of thoughts in our very first lesson we talked about are fuel for increasing the intensity of our emotions?
You're dwelling on the bad thoughts?
The bad thoughts, the judgmental thoughts, right? The more judgmental your thoughts are, the more intense your emotion gets. And so I want us to pay attention how those emotions can also really impact this. And I'll point out one last thing before we finish for today, is that these arrows over here is that sometimes we go straight from the prompting event into our internal emotional experience, and sometimes we have thoughts that prompt us go into our emotional experience. And the reason why it doesn't always have to have a thought is because sometimes our thoughts are so ingrained and so believed and so for so long that we just have these kind of automatic responses that come from back when we had thoughts there. Jim, can you just flip the camera for us again? Thanks to the built-in. Yep. And so, like, for me, I've been scared of snakes almost my entire life. And I've been always afraid that they're going to hurt me. And so when I see a snake, I jump and scream so automatically that I don't go through like, oh, they're going to kill me, they're going to eat me, they're going to attack me, because it happens so fast, because that's what I thought when I was really little.
And then she goes like,
Right. And then I scream and I jump,
and
right?
she shivers.
Because I just, even if I see like a brown, wiggly, curvy stick on the ground, I have that response until I can slow down and fully process everything in my brain about what kind of danger I'm in.
And like,
So that's why sometimes those quick responses happen.
when my uncle used to chase you around with a
Right,
giant
because
snake
your
skin.
uncle, when I was little, used to chase me with snakes, and sometimes
would
still
find
sends
them
me
in
snake
the-
skins for surprise gifts.
Yeah, and he said
Yes.
snake skins
All right,
were
guys, I hope this was really helpful to you, because this lesson here about really being able to come in and practice our mindfulness skills of observing and describing the different parts of your emotion is going to help set the stage for us in the next several lessons as we start applying the emotion regulation skills to each of these different components. So make sure you're thinking about those take-home points for today, and talk to your family and your parents over dinner about what are the different parts of an emotion you've experienced during the next couple of days. And then we will see you all back here on Thursday morning for our next lesson. And if you have more questions, feel free to follow up and put them in the comments box as well, and we will keep answering questions for you. Before I stop, do we have any other questions or comments from anybody?
Only the fact is that one of our viewers talked about how death keeps there. So is there what can we say before we get to the next lesson about why does that emotion last so long, and what can they do to just kind of like recognize that how it's being fired? What happens there?
All right, so I think the thing we want to talk about is, one, notice what thoughts you're having that are refiring that sadness. And then I think it's 100% reasonable, and I want you to do this, is to validate that it makes sense that you're sad, right? But here's the thing, you also have to check how much you've radically accepted that loss. If you're getting stuck in the shoulds of that person shouldn't be gone, they should be here, shoulds kind of end up fueling that suffering.
Should'ves, could'ves,
Should'ves, could'ves, right. We sometimes call it to tell people to stop shoulding on themselves, because those shoulds cause more of that suffering, like we talked about in our radical acceptance lesson. So practice validating yourself that of course you wish they were here and it's sad that they're not, and I can still keep living forward, and I can honor them and think about them and love them and accept that they're not here. In that deep, wise-minded place inside our hearts can help that. And we'll definitely talk more about that, about opportunities to sit with and let yourself feel that sadness as well, and acknowledge it for what it's truly there to be. Like, you have a loss, and that makes sense on that. Okay, my friends, thank you so much for joining us again today. Thank you, guys. Say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye.
Go skillfully.
Go skillfully,
See you
and we will
Thursday.
see you on Thursday morning. And parents, feel free to join us on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 7 a.m. Pacific time for our Parenting Through COVID-19 live stream as well. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Next time you see me, I'll be 12.
So right over here.